All right, just so you know. Again, my name is Daniel Carico, and I'm an assistant director of the School of Art and Design, and I also teach photography. I want to kind of welcome everybody to this virtual open house, and just to kind of give you an opportunity, we'll have the chat open. So if you have any questions, you can quickly kind of add to those, or you can raise your hand, or just if it's really quiet, just kind of break into the conversation after we start our little spiel over here. We also have Professor Hilary Husky from animation, and Gerald Weckesser. He's the Dark Fellow in the collection of our ceramic collection over there. Shira Linson, our admin, and Lucy Chokin and Tiffany Zariana, our student ambassadors, are going to join us. So you can ask all of those people any kind of questions that you might have. So I'm going to go ahead and kind of share my screen and give you kind of a quick run through about what our school is about, and how we can kind of help you with navigating all of this. So I'm going to start the slideshow. What you're seeing here is the Leo Jenkins Fine Arts Center at School of and that houses the School of Art and Design and at East Carolina University. And we can it's a roughly 142,000 square feet of studio and classroom space and workspaces, and I'm going to kind of go through that just to give you an insight. And all right, so most of our classes are actually contained within this building. I sincerely hope that you can visit in person if you get a chance, because I think it's a really great experience to kind of get a sense of how we're laid out and the community and all of that. So let me talk quickly about our art design degrees. Our main and largest degree is a Bachelor of Fine Arts in Studio Art. It's a professional degree with the concentrations in the following 11 areas, as you can see over here. And I'll talk about each individual separately. BFA in Art Education is also a large separate BFA, and it shares a lot of overlapping classes with the Studio Art class. Both of those degrees are 120 credit hours, roughly over 8 semesters, so about 15 to 16 credits each semester. We also have a BA in Multidisciplinary Studies with a concentration in art histories. So that's a separate type of a degree. So all of our credits, all of our concentrations have the same amount of credits, so 30 credits, which means 10 courses in each concentration. But as we start in one large group, and we call that shared experiences. So all of our students really take these courses, 4 of them, that introduce principles, elements, techniques, and essential skills for art and design. Those classes are visual organization, form, space, and color, process and studio arts, narrative in art and design. And sometimes we replace one of those with the drawing one, which is required for painting concentration. Why is this so interesting? Well, most of the BFAs in art have classes like drawing one and let's say 2D design, 3D design as introductory courses. Because we have 11 different disciplines, we decided to actually incorporate all those disciplines in our first year. So all of our first year students really get the modules of each of those disciplines for every 5.5 weeks. And I'll show you how that happens with next slides. In addition to those 4 classes in the first 2 semesters, The students are also required to take first two surveys in art history, so 1906 and 1907. So you immediately start off with 3 courses in arts, a minimum every semester. So that's a really kind of intense startup. So as I mentioned, this is kind of a modular organization. So visual organization is introducing you to the principles of visual organization in 2D and 3D through the modules in drawing, graphic design, and metals. What that means is that each student in this class will start in one of these 3 modules, go through a sort of mini workshop for 5.5 weeks in drawing, 5.5 weeks in graphic design, 5.5 weeks in metals, not necessarily in that order, but gain all of these different, very interesting skills in that one class. In the next one, this one is usually taken parallel to the 10-11, form, space, and color. We're introducing those principles, those looking towards those outcomes of form, space, and color through sculpture, photography, and painting. So immediately you have 5.5 weeks of painting, 5.5 weeks of photography and sculpture. The next semester is typically process and studio arts, and that's ceramics, printmaking, and textiles. So students are immediately kind of working with their hands and in an exciting way of solving these problems, right? Just to mention, these are not introductory courses in those areas. That comes in your second year. These are the courses that create the base for thinking through making process that we utilize in creating young professional artists. Narrative is visual in exploration through 2D, 3D, and 4D media, so film, illustration, and animation. After those first 4 classes in shared experiences, students are starting to take their first surveys. So this is a full class in one specific area. So since each area has 10 courses, including that survey, what we are asking the students to do is to take more than one survey in their fall semester of the second year. That will introduce them to the area that they're interested in going through, but also cover potentially an area that they might be using as kind of a fulfillment of their experience. So you might say, oh, I want to take animation and I want to take graphic design surveys at the same time, because one will become the part of your 30 credits towards your concentration, and the other one will be the elective in fine arts. So animation and interactive design, you can see that we kind of cover a lot of different things, and I'll actually ask Professor Husky to add more to that after I'm done with this presentation, so she can kind of give you a little bit more an insight into our very popular concentration. But then we have ceramics, and as you can kind of see, Gerald is in our ceramics area, and there's a ton of ceramics there, our collection. So students cover hand building, wheel throwing, mold making and casting, clay and glaze chemistry. So it's a very much a production-oriented concentration. Film and video production, that's another one that kind of asks the students to work in teams to produce anywhere from short projects to full feature things, as you can see some examples over here. Graphic design really covers a broad aspect of what we do. Some interactive stuff, but also we have a really nice letterpress facility that I hope you come and visit. So there is everything from the traditional way of setting the page all the way to the user interface design. Illustration, another area that's kind of that's really growing right now, but it's really oriented towards kind of combining various different skill sets from painting, drawing, design together. So it's a very popular class or number of classes to take along with animation, for example. Metal design is a little bit more of a traditional high craft that we think about, but you can see that it's not necessarily just jewelry. The metal design students really kind of create small tabletop sculptures, anything from vessels to wearable jewelry. Painting and drawing, it's kind of self-explanatory. It's probably one of the oldest disciplines. And the students are really kind of looking at developing the concepts and tying in this visual exploration to that. Photography, which is my area, we have really nice broad approach to the photography, from the 19th century techniques all the way to latest digital exploration. Quite often we kind of cross into some stop motion animation or some video, as well as the other areas. So it's kind of not necessarily only 2D, but it sometimes becomes 3D as well. Printmaking is based on really kind of multiples of images. So creating this matrix and then using various different tools to create an addition of these images. So we have relief, screen printing, lithography, intaglio. All of these are different ways of reproducing this type of an image. Sculpture, of course, is something that's a really broad exploration of space through various different tools, a lot of metal construction, a lot of not necessarily metal construction. Our school has really great facilities for forming metal, for welding, casting aluminum and bronze, and even casting iron. Textile design. While we don't have necessarily fashion design right in our school, we do have textile design that really is kind of within the fine arts. So it's an expression of through the 3D or 2D traditional and not so traditional ways of creating fabrics and creating this textile objects. So those were our concentrations within the BFA in studio art. I want to kind of cover a little bit of features of the school. I'm gonna do the boring stuff, and then you can ask all the questions afterwards to all of the more fun people. So we have scholarships. We award approximately $60,000 of scholarships every year. The applications are due for everybody in January 15th. They are the application is through the Singular system, so it really one application covers multiple scholarships if you are eligible for multiples, and quite often students are awarded those. So it's a free freshmen, so incoming freshmen, all the way to graduate students that are eligible for these. We have a wonderful art and design living learning community, which is located in a housing building right next to us in a dormitory. The benefits of it are that you are guaranteed an art roommate, and you have a workspace in that building, unlike in some other dormitories. as well as the opportunity to attend various workshops that are created to reinforce this community. And it's a limited amount of beds, but it's first come, first serve when applying. We don't require internships, but every area has good recommendations about the internships that they are thinking that you can take. For example, if you're in the graphic design, you would be talking to your professor and kind of developing those internships. Usually they're pretty good to take kind of in between a junior and senior year. Dedicated studio and bench space for most concentrations after portfolio review. What that means is that we don't require a portfolio at the incoming side. So you're just declaring your major as BFA in studio art or BFA in art education. Upon completing those shared experiences from the first year, you will start taking those surveys in the discipline of your choice. And at the end of that third semester, so usually a fall or a spring of the second year, you would be applying to a concentration with a portfolio that you create during that class or from the work from that class. So the instructors and professors are already familiar with you. They will help you kind of create this portfolio. And the benefit of that is that once you're in the concentration, then you actually take on the full curriculum of that concentration and will be assigned a space to work in. We also have guilds or clubs for each of the concentration. And it's a really great way of sort of establishing student leadership, because each student not each student, but each guild gets approximately $3,000 per year. And the students are the ones who decide whether or not to bring in the visiting artist, somebody who will do a workshop or go to a go to a professional event, kind of like a symposium or a conference. Additional features of the school, Gerald was for a moment there in wood shop. We have a really great wood shop that's kind of like a center of the of the making space. We have a foundry, as I already mentioned, within sculpture. Shape Lab is also run by Gerald, and it's got CNC router, 3D printers, and laser cutter. Actually, we have more 3D printers in our IDL space that Gerald might talk a little bit about a little bit later. We have more than 7 computer labs. We work in a Macintosh environment, and all of the software that you need is provided in the labs. And in addition to that, students can download, any student from who's a full-time student at ECU can download Adobe software for free. So that's a really huge benefit, and especially when the software costs quite a bit. Letterpress shop, I already mentioned. Film, photography, and sound equipment that's checked out to students from various areas. Motion capture capabilities for animation, high quality print output. We have a number of large Epson and Canon inkjet printers up to 44 inches wide, and then a bunch of color laser printers. Glass Blowing Studio is in Farmville, which is about 20 minutes away from us. Glass blowing is a very popular area. Even though it's not one of the actual concentrations, students are welcome to take some of the classes, and those become those elective courses. On the top here, you can see the printmaking lab and the metals lab below that. It's a very well-equipped metal studio. So for those of you who are actually who have applied and been accepted, this is the next step. So our advisors kind of ask you to go to peer.ecu.edu, and it's kind of registering for the courses for the Pirate Introduction to ECU here. So here are links, academic advisors, Daniel Carrico, that's me, and our director is Kate Bukowski. If you have any questions, I'll be also happy to kind of add these contacts to our chat box while I'm, because I want to stop the sharing and see if you have any additional questions. So at this point, Hillary, would you like to tell us a little bit more about the animation?
Sure. Hey, my name is Hillary Husky. I am a professor over in the animation and interactive design. I'm actually new. This is my first full year. It's my second semester, so I'm brand new. But we try and cover pretty much the general basis of both animation and game. Those are kind of two different ideas packed in together. So we try and give a really good, robust, round experience for you guys to come in and explore what type of job you may be interested in the field. So we do storyboarding, we do 2D animation, we do 3D animation, we do games, interactive media, concept art, and we really try and focus on production and going through the production pipeline and how to build and create projects from start to finish. If you're interested in 3D modeling, we do a lot of that, sculpting. It's a really exciting area. We have a lot of really good, talented students who seem to have a good job or have a good time, which I think is great. Our guild's been working on bringing in some exciting professionals from the field. I know this semester we're looking forward to bringing in a senior general 3D artist. He works over at Art Bully, so he's going to be coming and doing a talk and actually doing portfolio reviews for our seniors. So I think that's a really exciting opportunity for the students to be able to speak to somebody in the industry and kind of get a feel for how they transition from being a student to a professional. And then later, kind of towards the end of the semester, we're bringing someone in from DreamWorks. So I think it's a really great opportunity just to meet people from the industry and get their perspective as well. Softwares do you guys use? So we use Maya. I do allow my students to use Blender if they feel comfortable in it, because I know Blender is open source, so it's available to everybody regardless of whether you're a student or not. But we generally teach in Maya. You do have access to the education version of Maya for, I believe, like 2 years. I'd have to double check, but while you're a student, you're able to access Maya for free. We also do ZBrush. So a lot of the 3D sculpting is going to be taught in ZBrush. We try and use more industry standard softwares, although Blender is becoming pretty big, and I know a lot of indie companies are using it. But we typically are using Maya and ZBrush in the 3D classes that we offer. Which softwares do you guys use for 2D animation? So right now we have Adobe Animate or Photoshop. However, I'm pretty flexible because I know that Procreate, you can also animate in, you can also do 2D animation in Blender. So I'm fairly flexible. The idea is that the concepts are going to be same regardless of whatever software you decide to use. So all of the information that you're getting is going to translate into whatever software you prefer. I know I've used Toon Boom as well. So the actual projects can be completed in pretty much any software that you're comfortable in, because we're covering general concepts that extend past the software like limitations, if you will. Any other questions?
There was a question about what kind of core credits do I need for going into BFA. The university has 40 credits of the thinking that's what you're asking. This is a question from Mackenzie, and those are the like Math 1 and all of that. I'm going to actually post a link to our catalog with the BFA that will actually describe all the links and description of what those specific, there it goes, what those specific credits are. right there. And if you have, if I didn't understand your question correctly, please do ask me. Also, we have two wonderful advisors, and as I said, they're dedicated to fine arts, and it's art advising at ecu.edu, and they can answer a lot of your questions regarding transfer, regarding pre-credits, or like early college credits and those kind of things. How is the student housing? Let's see, Lucy and Tiffany, do you guys stay at the student housing? No, you do? Tiffany, you wanna tell us about your experiences? I know that there's various different housing, so I'll let Tiffany kind of give you an insight.
Okay, so this is my cup of tea. I'm a resident advisor actually on campus. So housing, it really depends. If you are looking into getting into the art and design living learning community, that is housed in Garrett Hall, as Danielle said. So that'll be right next to Jenkins. It's super convenient. You have the art studio in the building. It's right next to your rooms. You even have sinks in your room, which is the only dorm really that has them. So if you want to live in Garrett, that's kind of a plus. I currently live in Green, which is kind of a more common dorm area, but most dorms, if you're staying in just like a standard, you have a roommate and it's just a room, you get a bed, a desk, some kind of wardrobe or closet. So yeah, it's a good space. I've lived here for 3 years, so I don't have many complaints. And if you need anything, there's plenty of resources and they're usually pretty good about it. And then also I know another big question with housing is bathrooms, and they are shared. So there's like the showers and the sinks and all that kind of stuff.
Thank you, Tiffany. Gerald, do you want to give us a little bit of a spiel about the important things?
Oh, I got it all, you guys. All right. So to be clear, the wood shop and the shape lab are really the beating heart of the institution. I'm kidding. But those are two facilities that I help run that support all student activities, whether it's ceramics, whether it's painting or anything like that. And my job is to keep that organized and keeping sort of the ability for you guys to explore your educational journey alive. So if you're making a frame or a stretcher for a class in painting, I'm going to be the guy that helps you out along with my compatriot Jeb Hedgecock, who I had to leave the wood shop because it got a little loud in there. There were some routers running and stuff. So we're on campus and we've got hours that run all through the days and into the evenings. I have graduate students that will cover the evening hours to make sure that students have access to the facilities for a good amount of time. In our technology lab, the shape lab, we've got, as Daniel had said, this CNC routers, a CNC router and 3 laser cutters, laser etchers, that we have employed in graphic design, in metal design, in animation in some regards. Photographers have used the space, so it's really a service to all of the disciplines in the building. So generally, Jeb and I act as team problem solvers with you on your educational journey. For example, one of the assignments in the shared experience was to create an automata where the students would develop some kind of physical animation in 3D. And so we would work with wooden gears and levers and cams and those kinds of things. And we helped to make your vision a reality and keep you safe along the way. The space that I'm sitting in right now is the ceramics collection room. Think of this space as a library But instead of books, it's a physical library where you can see pottery, ceramic work from various makers from around the country and around the world. And if you're interested in the way a particular teapot might pour or the way a lid might fit on, you can check that teapot out and use it as a piece to examine and to develop your own work. We try to offer these kinds of resources to our students. Daniel, do you know we've got 48 full-time faculty, 11 concentrations thereabouts?
Something like that. Can't remember now if it's 48 with the new incomings or not. But yeah, it's roughly if you're interested in numbers, we're maintaining about 550 undergraduate students. We receive about 110 to 130 freshmen and transfers every year. That's rough, and it kind of goes up and down. And as Gerald mentioned, we have definitely close to 50 full-time faculty across 11 disciplines plus art history and art education. So yeah.
I would say that oddly enough, a good many of us actually like each other and get along. It's a great environment to work in. I'm hanging out. Usually I'm an 8 to 5 kind of guy. And, I'm here with you at 6:30. I'm willing to pitch in with Daniel. And that's the kind of culture that our faculty come together to help guide you guys into the careers that you want. It's really an adventure, and I feel very privileged to be working here with you guys. And I don't really know what to say other than the culture around this space is really a positive place. You can explore outside of, say, for example, you're dedicated to being a graphic designer. That's great. But you can also enroll and take classes in ceramics. So you don't have to be such a sort of siloed person within a specific discipline and never stray and explore. And that's part of the great thing about the shared experience is you get to dip your toes in a couple of different areas that are all teaching you in various mediums toward a set of learning objectives. And that's one of the things that I think is wonderful is that we do have graphic designers that are also ceramics majors. So they're dual concentrations. We've got metalsmiths that are also animators. We've got film students that are in animation as well. So you're able to explore and kind of get a broader knowledge base. And that's one of the things that I just really like to champion about our program. That's I don't know. What else do you want me to say?
That was excellent. Thank you, Gerald. We also have Lucy, and Lucy is in graphic design. So you want to give us a little bit about that program from the student point of view?
Yeah. Hi, can you hear me? Okay. So my name's Lucy. I'm a junior in graphic design. I really love the program, and kind of like piggybacking off of what Gerald said, as a graphic designer, I'm part of the Graphic Design Guild as well. And we do a lot of activities. You can go visit different agencies. You surround yourself with people who have the same interests as you. And there's also something called the Holiday Art Sale. And for that, I spent time with Gerald and Jeb, and they helped me learn how to laser cut wood. It's just such a really great environment and community because you get to use your talents in different ways that you never thought of before. And I really enjoyed, just like the community of people and just the different opportunities to learn and to grow as an artist. Yeah, and right now in my graphic design class, my teacher is just helping me build a portfolio so I can use that, in the future to apply for jobs. So the classes really help you learn, but they really prepare you for the future as well. So I really appreciate that. Yeah.
within the graphic design department, Dan Elliott, who is leading that department right now, is developing a mentorship program where the graphic design students will have an opportunity to have an external mentor from graphic design industry. And it's about reaching out beyond the borders of the school to the professional practice, and it gets those students developing in a broader way and understanding that it's not just school, but that this is a furthering relationship. And also I'm going to shout out another one for Dan Elliott. He has arranged to take students abroad over the summer during their summer session, where they will visit Switzerland. They will visit Germany to see the Gutenberg Press, the foundations of graphic design, I guess. They'll visit the Bauhaus, which plays heavily into the way art has been taught and is very important in design history. And also they'll visit some studios in Italy. And this is another aspect of broadening our horizons outside of the School of Art and Design, outside of the community surrounding the school, and into an international influence. So I think that that's really something worth shouting out.
We have a really interesting question. How far can graphic design be pushed for 3D animation until it's not graphic design anymore? I think it's a great question, but it's also something that allows us to talk about that it really doesn't matter in a way, because what we're trying to shape is a functional and kind of progressively oriented fine artist who is so our graphic design, our animation are based in the art school. So this is kind of the benefit of being here, because at the end, if you're just kind of creating your own vision, it doesn't really matter in which discipline you exist if you're using the tools that you need to use to actually get to the final end. So we were joking around today. Some of the students were actually photographing the new cover for our magazine that's going to be featuring graduate students, and it's called Ampersand. But they were doing it outside. So these are graphic design students who are lighting an object on fire and photographing it in order to get to the final design. So it's kind of an interesting approach. We don't really think that we need to separate like what's graphic design, what are the borders of that graphic design, where the and so there's this kind of porous feeling between the areas of concentration.
Yeah, and I mean the classes always will have some type of interesting overlap to them, right? Because you are going to always have type pretty much when it comes to games and animation to some degree. So it's always a good idea to try and take classes in some of these other areas so that you can kind of combine these knowledges so that they work together seamlessly and produce better products. And I think that's one of the nice things about having electives, so that you can go and explore in graphic design if you are an animation major or vice versa, so that you have a little bit more breadth as far as being more hireable. To be honest with you, the more skill sets you have that kind of can translate across areas, the more valuable you become to a company. So I think that's one thing to kind of keep in mind.
Yeah, certainly. We also have Caitlin Underwood. She's our advisor with us. So if you have any questions specifically for Caitlin, I already put the artadvising@ecu.edu as the address that she responds to, but she can tell us a little bit more about that if you have any questions. Hey, Caitlin.
It's got to be some more questions, you guys. Yeah.
how do we apply for the student housing? That's a great question. I will put, if you're talking about the ugh, the
Living learning community.
living learning community. It's been a long day. It's actually on our website, so I will give you a link through the chat. art.ecu. So our website is art.ecu.edu. So if we missed on something, there's bound to be get that specific.
While you're typing, Daniel, I'll talk a little bit about the living learning community. It was established a number of years ago, and often we'll have a faculty that engages and helps lead different activities. Sometimes it's just a pizza party in the activity room in the dorm. Other nights it might be a movie night where there's critical analysis of the films that have been shown. It might be a workshop on different photographic techniques that with photosensitized papers, and it's a really engaging time to be involved in an environment with people that are engaged in the same studies that you're involved with. I would encourage anybody that can find a little bit of community when you're going into something new, to have allies along that journey. And that's why I think that the living learning community has really helped when we look at student numbers and satisfaction. That's one of the things that always comes up in our offerings, is that this has really made a big difference in making our students feel more comfortable, and it creates a bonding community. Where some schools that don't often have that, or if it's a commuter school, there's less bonding among the students, and this is great to go through those shared experiences. Not always for the good, you can always complain about the same, about the difficult professors or something like that, which is a good way to bond. I don't know if our students on our web can attest to that, or what are you guys' thoughts?
About the LLC, or yeah, like I said in the chat, I was a part of the LLC when I first came to ECU. I got an email from my advisor, and they were like, this is an opportunity for you to like live with fellow art students. And I was like, going to college, it can be kind of scary, and you never know if you're going to meet people that have the same interests as you. So when this came up, I was like, let's do it. And so I did it. And I came during COVID, and even then, like, we still had so much interaction. I got to meet friends that I still have now 2 years later. So it's a great opportunity, and you get a lot of good things. You can, if you're not even taking like a metals class or something, the LLC gives you opportunity to take workshops and things you might not be able to do in your normal class schedule. So that was a nice thing. And there's also one year we went to the Cry Museum. The Chrysler Museum, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, we went there, and so it's another great opportunity, and I highly recommend.
There's a question in the chat about the recommendation for laptops. My opinion is this: we have enough computers in the labs that can be used for personal use prior to entering officially into a concentration. So I would wait until I would get in the second year in the concentration, if you have your personal laptop or even the laptop from high school, and wait till you get into, let's say, graphic design, or if you're getting into photography. Certain areas require a little bit more of a beefier laptop or a personal computer, just because we're processing a lot of various different requirements. Yeah. Gerald?
And yeah, to your point, that allows you a couple extra years to get that money and to get that investment toward a better machine. But also the on campus, the bookstore has discounts for students for the kinds of machines that your professors might recommend. And so that's why I think it's a good idea, like Daniel said, to hold off until you're entering into those concentrations.
Yeah,
And-
also then you
yeah.
might need peripherals to support the concentration that you're going into too. So for instance, in animation and interactive design, we need that actual drawing tablets, and you may or may not want to invest in one of those if you're not actually going to be in the concentration.
Mhm. Yeah, and there are some of the Cintiq Wacom tablets that can be used by students in various different areas. We really try to we are a state school, but we really try to kind of accommodate most of our students as much as possible. And as Gerald said, the later you wait, you get a better machine for less money typically. So that's what I would recommend. Also, just to reiterate, all the Adobe software is available to all of the students on campus for free, which is kind of a nice covering of that expense. And then specific software like 3D software or animation software, photo editing software that's not Adobe is typically available in those classrooms that are dedicated to those areas.
One of the things that I neglected to mention was our off-campus laboratory, the Innovation Design Lab, which does have the motion capture for those that might be stepping into animation and analysis. We've used it with choreography and different modeling algorithms to establish some interesting research with one of our theater and dance professors in the past. It's also got a raft of, I don't know, 50 or so 3D printers, anywhere from real basic PLA extruding types to resin based, to a couple of fairly new ones that are, pretty expensive high-end units. So there's an awful lot of the 3D printing sphere that we can make available to you guys as well. Currently, one of our grad students in metalsmithing has a pretty deep background in Rhino design, and he is teaching a course in Rhino, and currently kind of focusing on the way he might apply that to the jewelry and metalsmithing. But in the future, we're looking at that being a course as well.
Thank you, Gerald. Yeah, just to mention, while you're coming up with those questions, we are a fairly large university, close to 30,000 students, and there's a lot of research going on. So what's really a nice benefit of the School of Art and Design is that we continually kind of make these connections across disciplines and give students real life experiences. Some that come to mind is, for example, there's a really great coastal research part of our university. So Coastal Studies Institute in Manio on the coast is actually kind of always looking for interns that can work there, and we quite often have exhibitions of the artwork at the institute. So we kind of make these crossovers into the scientists into the sciences with scientists. I have worked in the past with biologists. Actually, one of our kind of finishing graduate students is a professor in biology, and he's doing a lot of entomological work, so a lot of arthropods and insects. As you can kind of see in the back there. In addition to that, there are other opportunities that we may not have mentioned, but for example, undergraduate research and creative activity awards is something that happens annually. Those are the awards that students can apply to, with not necessarily with the scientific research, but also in a collaborative way as well. I have in the past kind of combined the students from sciences and arts in projects called DataSteam that would actually basically pair up the students from various different areas and making kind of an interesting artwork that's informed by real world data. So these are the types of things that we're continually exploring. So it's kind of an active type of you never know what kind of semester you're gonna have.
In the wood shop and in the Shape Lab, I've been working with a couple of maritime studies guys, master's candidates in maritime studies. One is looking at the way a novel way of devising how to understand the tooling marks on a sunken ship. Setting up a light system that will be submerged and then photographed underwater to help the maritime studies guys understand how the boat was constructed and what kind of tools were used. And this is a kind of a daily thing for me, is helping other divisions problem solve in the way that I would help you guys problem solve an expressive or a technical difficulty in either of the labs. I'm also working with some engineering students that have come in and enjoy coming over and sort of playing in the wood shop, if you will. But I sit on one of the thesis committees for his visual study work. It depends on which job opportunities, I suppose. That might be, I'm going to kick that one over to Daniel. But before I let my train of thought go from the bridge building, I think that the collaborative nature around campus is growing. We're not just those art students. We're now dealing and having theater students come over. We do interact with engineering. We've got bridges being built across campus. And that's one of the things that I like to champion, is that we're not so insular any longer.
Yeah, that's a good question about the minor, and it really kind of depends on what the students are interested in what kind of direction they're interested. We had students before actually double concentrating and then minor, so concentrating in photography and graphic design. So this is within a major. So and then minoring in psychology, which would really make them busy and ready for the type of well, for example, entrepreneurship is a good way of dealing with. So a minor in business entrepreneurship certificate, that's 4 credits. I'm sorry, 4 classes of 12 credits applied to this. So it's not necessarily a minor, it's as much as it's actually a certificate that would help you kind of start your own little entrepreneurship business. So that's a popular one offered by the business school. If you're thinking about going to art therapy, which is a master's level certificate, I would consider doing the psychology as a minor. But really, yeah, that's Caitlin is really good at answering that kind of question. There's a tool right there on the catalog.
Yeah, I just put the catalog link in there. That's on that link is basically all the degree programs that ECU offers, and it goes through like the classes that are required for each one. If you scroll down, this broken down by sections. If you scroll down to where it says minors, that's where you can find that information. But let's say like business and entrepreneurship are really good ones. really just depends on what you want to go into. Like I've seen a lot of minors, like I know Daniel mentioned psychology is a good one if you want to go into art therapy. I also see creative writing go along with like film and video or animation if you want to go more into like story writing or something like that. And then film studies is another minor that's really popular, but the really great thing is there's so many options out there and you have so many choices. There's also certificate programs like the entrepreneurship certificate. So if you want something, a minor is going to be more classes. If you want something that's a little bit less classes, the certificate's a really great option too. But there are definitely a plethora of options out there for minors, which is really awesome.
Yeah. So we're approaching kind of the end of the hour. And I want to just emphasize that if there are any additional questions, please do either email me directly or the advising, and I can put you in touch with. If I don't know the answer, I will definitely figure it out for you or put you in touch with the right people. But I'm really happy that we had nice group of students, hopefully future students joining us. Yeah, and if we can help you in any way, we'll be happy to do that. Class scheduling be done during orientation. Yes, another question for Caitlin.
Yes, good question. So for class registration, as a first semester freshman, if you're a transfer student, it's completely different, but we should have reached out to you if you are a transfer student. But if you're a first semester freshman, you'll do this thing called Peer. It should be opening around the end of April, I believe, is when it's going to open up. That's when you'll do your initial class registration. And then during orientation, when you come to ECU and see the campus and everything like that, we'll go over your schedule and review it and make sure everything looks good. So that's just orientation's a way just like check over your schedule, but you'll do Peer, which is basically going to guide you through the class registration process. You're going to get like an example of the classes you should be registering for. So you'll be doing that before you come, but then when you come, if you have any questions or need to make any changes, we'll be able to help you out then. Or if, I mean, you can always email us too, of course. We're always available over email. But
I threw my my email address in there just in case you want, like, the non-varnished facts behind the scene. Yeah. So hit me up if you guys really, want to know anything from my perspective.
Gerald will tell you the truth. Well, thank you again. All right. I really appreciate everybody. And we hope that you have a chance to come and visit us in person. Because as I mentioned, we do individual tours, we do group tours. We really want to show you our community. That's what we're, I think, really known for, and we have a tradition of taking care of our students. So I hope to see you and meet you in person, and I will talk to you soon, I hope. Bye, everybody.
See you guys. Thank you.